I'd like to pass the mic off to my good friend, John Larsen, who is the CEO of Weave Workforce. And John will be discussing harmonizing workforce schedules with uncertain demand. So John, the floor is all yours. Welcome and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Tom. I'm really excited to be here. This is a great event. I'm happy to be a part of it. Right now, I do call Ann Arbor home, and I love it here, but these fall days sometimes remind me of my growing up years. I grew up on a potato farm in Idaho, believe it or not. Sounds stereotypical, but that's my reality. My high school is actually one of the last few that still let students out for 2 weeks every October so that they can go work in potato harvest. Now, when I was a teenager, one of my harvest jobs was working on the sorter. This is a machine with a large belt on which potatoes would pass by after they were brought in from the field. And 6 or 8 of us teenagers would stand along the sides and pick out the rocks and clods of dirt so that only the potatoes would go into the cellar. This was mind-numbing work. My coworker and I were going a bit crazy, and we just said, there's got to be a better way. So we came up with this idea where you could instead put the potatoes through a channel of water, and the rocks and clods would sink to the bottom to separate them out. Now, much to our dismay, we discovered that potatoes don't float either. The very next year, my grandpa purchased a new piece of equipment. We called it the sand machine. Amazingly, this machine would actually blow air through a bed of sand, making it just the right density for potatoes to float, but rocks and clods to sink to the bottom, completely replacing the need for the sorter. Now, while I just missed my chance to invent the sand machine, I think we're all here today, both presenters and participants, because we all believe there is a better way. I hope that the things I share today will inspire you to find a better way in your own personal situation. So I want to start today by going back to last year's A2.AI, where we heard from Don Barnes, he's the president of PreHire, about how they have used AI to optimize deployment of their workforce. Today, I want to offer the sequel to the PreHire story. I hope to shed some light on some of the key factors for success in applying AI for real business results. For those who weren't able to attend last year, Don shared how he could sense that their retail tire stores were often overstaffed. They didn't have enough work to keep their employees fully engaged all the time. But they also experienced regular periods of understaffing, where the customers had to wait too long for the work to be completed. So he knew that there had to be a better way to do scheduling, to help managers make more informed decisions. This dual issue of both overstaffing and understaffing is inherent to many service businesses, from hospitality to healthcare. The root cause is simply variable customer demand, which is hard to anticipate and even harder to match with fixed employee staffing. This is the exact problem Weave Workforce aims to solve using applied AI. So rather than giving up and accepting fluctuating demand as simply unpredictable, we leverage AI to reduce the uncertainty. We tap into a company's internal operating data, as well as external data, that may signal what future demand will look like. Weaving together the various sources and applying advanced modeling, we're able to provide a high-resolution, high-accuracy forecast of expected workload. We then use this forecast to calculate how many employees will be needed in any given period of time. At PreHire, this approach led to incredible results. Over a few short months, they were able to actually reduce their labor costs by 14%, while maintaining customer satisfaction and improving same-store profitability by 8.4%. This is incredible and an outcome that I think any service business would want. Now, this was only possible by going deeper than the typical one-dimensional sales forecast. For example, we looked operationally at not only how many employees are on the clock, but how busy they are at a given point in time. We consider other operational factors, such as third-party tire delivery times, and even when the scrap truck may arrive. Additionally, external factors such as weather and local economic activity are strong indicators of expected demand. This year, we've been working with Bell Tire to continue to enhance their results from workforce optimization. Of course, there were new dimensions related to the pandemic that were completely unanticipated in our original work. But beyond that, we wanted to look holistically at how model recommendations were being used and how we could go further. I wanted to share two simple insights today that we gained that should be relevant to other business applications of AI. First of all, bring users along with you. And second, it's more than just the model. To understand how to improve things, we conducted a series of interviews and a workshop with high-performing store managers. Most of them reinforced their confidence in model recommendations, but many of them also confessed to decreasing their usage over time. There seemed to be two different reasons for this. On one hand, when recommendations were consistent with their expectations, they didn't feel the need to use them. They felt their judgment was already close enough. On the other hand, when recommendations were inconsistent with expectations, they discounted them as questionable. We also discovered that even when managers intended to comply with the recommendations, they did so inconsistently, simply due to practical challenges. Managers would receive a weekly email detailing how many employees should be on the clock for every 30-minute period. But creating a staff schedule that lined up with this loading was not a simple thing. So they would take it as a point of reference, but largely rely on prior schedules or on habit to create the new schedule. We could tell, again, that there was a better way. We needed to bring the users along with us and provide more than just the model. At Weave Workforce, we're now launching our workforce optimization SaaS product. This solution is built on the foundational AI used to deliver the great results at Bell Tire. Additionally, it includes several elements to directly address the challenges just mentioned. First, we prioritize bringing the manager along with us. The first screen they see when they log in is not just a schedule, but a dashboard to help them understand the how and why of the tool. Charts like the workload heat map help a manager see clearly the anticipated highs and lows of demand and understand what's driving the optimized schedule. Key performance indicators include both productivity and customer experience, reinforcing the need to enhance service quality in parallel with efficiency gains. And ultimately, the financial assessment helps them see the impact on the bottom line. When a manager clicks through to the employee scheduling screen, they'll find more than just the loading recommendations they previously received. They will find algorithm-generated schedules to achieve the best potential fit with the demand forecast. Now, rather than manually translating the loading to a schedule, they can simply verify the proposal, make any desired adjustments, and submit it for publication to their employees. If they want to dig deeper, they can drill down to the daily level, where matching of their employee schedule to demand is even more evident. You can see how we're trying to make it intuitive and simple to understand and implement the model recommendations by wrapping it in software that helps finish the full job to be done by the users. Another way that we bring users along with us is through our workforce optimization framework. I hope you'll bear with me while I walk through the framework. This is the type of strange thing that gets a strategy guy like me excited. I love the structure and clarity that it gives our approach, as well as the consistent language it provides to communicate what we're trying to do for our customers. Here are a few highlights. At the top are 3 need indicators or symptoms that we see when there's an opportunity for optimization. I've already talked about the dual overstaffing and understaffing problems seen by Bell Tire and other service businesses. Another symptom is overtime. Consistent overtime usually indicates systemic understaffing, where a business may need to increase their overall capacity through additional hiring. The desired performance parameters at the bottom of the slide. Some businesses will skew towards productivity with a focus on low-cost delivery, perhaps at the expense of waiting customers. Others may sacrifice productivity to ensure consistent delivery of exceptional customer experiences. With workforce optimization, a business is able to deliver the "and" solution, achieving both efficiency and satisfied customers at the same time. This leads to the ultimate result of increased profits. So how is this optimization done? Well, fundamentally, we are trying to match a company's workforce to their workload. But achieving this really requires a more granular understanding of each side. On the left is workload. This can be thought of as both the units of work coming in and the associated timing for that work. When this workload is variable, difficult to predict, and sensitive to wait times, workforce optimization is going to be a big opportunity. On the right is workforce. This needs to be understood not only in terms of the size of the employee base, but also the skills and characteristics that determine which workers can complete which units of work. Additionally, team structure can be set up to match the associated workload. To achieve the desired performance parameters that we talked about, we want to match the workforce to the workload. This is done through forecasting, staffing, and scheduling. Of course, AI is uniquely suited for accurate forecasting, given the breadth and depth of data to be considered. Then, applying algorithms to generate suitable shift schedules and assign employees makes it practical and easy for managers to implement the recommendations. We recognize that our solution doesn't apply to every business, but this framework offers a simple conceptual model to assess the fit and then guide execution where it's appropriate. A few weeks ago, we shared our product updates with the Bell Tire executive leadership. As we concluded the discussion, one of the executives said, quote, "This is awesome. It tells the entire story. This completes the story for our managers," close quote. For most of the AI applications that I see, there is a huge opportunity to complete the story. First, we can bring users along with us rather than going over their heads with the details of the data science. We can also clothe our AI models with user-friendly interfaces and practical recommendations to help the non-scientists apply them for maximum impact. This is how we complete the story for real business results. This is the better way. So with that, I'd like to turn it back to Tom, bring him back so we can dive into the Q&A portion of our session.
Hi, John. Great presentation. Thank you so much for sharing that information with us. That's a fantastic case study you have there with Bell Tire. Look, I've got a few questions for you here, but the first thing, so is Bell Tire still leveraging this? Is this something that they want to move forward with?
Yes. Bell is our best customer that we started with, and they've really helped us go through this process and learn how to apply it. And so we really appreciate the relationship with them and making sure that we can move forward in a very practical way. So Bell's very enthusiastic about where we can go with this.
Fantastic. Well, we actually do have quite a few questions here. So this might be a nice little session here. First question that we have here is, how is this different from other employee scheduling software? There's quite a bit of employee scheduling software out there. So I'm just, I think someone's saying, what's new?
Yeah, Tom, you're right. There's a lot of employee scheduling software out there today. And what you'll find as you look at that software, that most of that is very focused on reducing the administrative burden of doing your scheduling. And so it really helps to just say, okay, I can make a schedule. I can come in and I can select this person and that person and assign them this shift and move ahead. What they're lacking is the intelligence. They're lacking the guidance to help you make effective decisions as you do that scheduling. And that's why the heart of what we do is using the AI to say how many people should be on the schedule. So today it's all done by the managers, and managers do the best job they can. They use their judgment. They look at, well, I think I'm usually busier at this time and that time, and they do the best they can. But in order to really shape it to the demand, you need AI to know what that demand is. And then using those algorithms to generate a schedule that fits that is very powerful for them.
Great. Another one here. On your dashboard, a little bit on your dashboard, it showed that you had a chart with both productivity and customer satisfaction assessed weekly. How do you measure customer satisfaction that frequently? That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, we all know that there are certain scores, there are metrics for customer satisfaction. NPS is a really popular one. And most of those are delayed. You aren't going to get immediate feedback, and you may not get the feedback as granular as you need it. So what we've done with our customers is to work through with them what is a leading indicator that is high frequency, that can be managed within your business, that has a high correlation to your customer satisfaction score. So back to the Bell Tire example, remember when we talked about being understaffed, they have customers waiting because they don't have enough people to do the job that comes in a wave. So what we found was there's a customer wait time. And it's not just they're waiting for the work to be done, it's actually when they're waiting and their car is not even pulled in yet. So they come in to get their tires replaced, and there's so much going on that their car's sitting in the parking lot. And if they see that for a long period of time, that's when they will become dissatisfied. So finding a metric like that, the customer wait time, can really help you to then identify, all right, we know that, and we can see that immediately in our performance, and we can track that at your store level day to day and know what's going on. So that's kind of the key to that customer satisfaction, is finding one that correlates highly with the broader metrics that you might use, but one that you can really control.
Here's a little bit of a follow-up on that, since we discussed NPS scores here. And I'm not sure if this is in the wheelhouse of Weave Workforce or not, but the question is your artificial intelligence able to predict employee profiles likely to lead to higher scores?
Yeah, so that's, I would say the employee profile portion, what we've been focused on thus far has been productivity related. So we can definitely track employee productivity at a skill level, and even different types of work that might come to them, and where some might be more effective than others, so that we can learn from that. However, we also know that productivity correlates very highly with both employee satisfaction and with customer satisfaction then. So we know that there will be a ripple effect through to those things. We've not yet, I mean, you can see from that metric of customer wait times, that doesn't correlate to an individual employee. It correlates to the whole team that's doing the service. So we haven't been looking at customer experience at that level yet, but that's something that we could explore in the future.
Nice. Okay. We've got a couple of different ones. Does your software integrate with other business optimization or productivity tools?
Yes, that's a great question. As Weave Workforce, we're very focused on this optimization portion and getting the scheduling right. There are already a lot of tools out there for HR management platforms that do payroll and benefits administration and other things. And we don't aspire to take over all of those functions. So we integrate with those other platforms. We connect to them to bring in the data that already exists and to leverage that and to connect back out in a way that will be useful for the business, so that we don't have to disrupt the whole tech stack of an individual business. So we definitely work with those. We've also gotten a lot of leverage from partnerships with RXA and with Domo, who are already effective at getting access to a lot of data and bringing that together to be able to do analysis. So we use our partnership with them to do some of that as well.
That's great. So it sounds like sounds like a big yes and almost expected integration. And this is something that's going to enhance any other tool that's out there. That's fantastic.
Yes, exactly.
Some others. How difficult was it to establish and fine tune the accuracy of your AI model? That's pretty detailed and interesting question, but I'm sure with a lot of attendees would like to know that, given everybody's excited about AI and the models. So I wonder if you can elaborate on that.
Well, I'm excited we actually have Jonathan Prentner on as the next speaker, because we may tap into him to go into a little more detail here as well. He was deeply involved with the early days of establishing this and fine-tuning the accuracy. I will say that one of the benefits with PreHire was that they did have Domo in place with a robust data history, that we could tap into all of that to use our machine learning and develop this AI model. So that was definitely one of the resources that we leveraged. And also having their partnership to continue to enhance it over time has been critical. Jonathan, do you want to jump in and comment at all on that, the fine-tuning the accuracy of our model?
Sure, John. I'll give everybody a little preview before I jump on. When we were focusing on fine-tuning the accuracy of the model, the main things that we did in terms of benchmarking it is we were benchmarking it against historic expectations of what were scheduled. So looking at the number of tire techs on the clock, showing that we were able to predict that. And then from there, that's where the productivity measures came in. And then working to minimize the difference between the two. So understanding the additional tasks that people had to do, and looking at things that way. So it allowed us to then focus in, and we were looking at individual schedules within a store on a 30-minute increment. So seeing how those trended over time and where the higher levels of variance were allowed us to tweak the feature set in order to really tune in on the predictions.
Yeah. Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, Jonathan was instrumental. You want people like Jonathan on your team to do this type of work.
That's great. Another question here. For a business with higher attrition levels and long training periods, is it possible for the AI model to predict the number of candidates, say pre-hire, needed for consideration for months prior to staffing? So I guess what data is needed to make that happen, and if you could talk a little bit about that. That's a pretty interesting concept. So almost getting in front of it in some cases.
Yes, that's definitely an application that would be very interesting. That is not the focus of Weave Workforce right now. We're not really focused on if I understand the question right, we're not focused on the employee attributes in advance or evaluating candidates for a position. We're more focused on the performance of the team in meeting the workload that comes in. And so when we look at employee productivity and performance, then we're doing that independent of any of their background. We're just looking at their actual performance on the job. That may be something that would be a long-term application, though, that we could also start to take our assessment of their productivity and back out what were the characteristics of these people that led to that or that existed, and look for a correlation there. So I think that's definitely an interesting question, but not one that we're really focused on right now.
Great. A few more here. One question is, who are your target customers for this? A couple of questions I have is it human resources leaders? Is it in technology? Is it in operations?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We as we've gone out to clients with this, what we found is that HR leaders and IT leaders can be very good partners and advocates for this. They can see the potential of it, but usually there's an operations leader, an operational leader that is really the sponsor for this. It's a general manager or a vice president of operations, a COO, even a CEO, like John Barnes. Those type of roles, because they have both sides of the equation. They have, I need the revenue, I need customer experience, but I also need to control my costs. And so because they have P&L responsibility and they're trying to deliver customer experience and productivity, when they see this, it's like an answer to prayer for them. They're like, wow, I could really achieve both of these things. A lot of times they almost feel like they're dialing in between the two. Like, okay, well, do I want more productivity or do I want better customer experience? And they're having to trade off between those two. And this allows them to say, no, we get the right people there at the right time, then you can deliver the customer experience and still be very efficient and have high productivity. So really those operational leaders are the ones that this resonates with the most.
Yeah, being a former operations guy, anything you can do to help reduce my costs while making my employees happy, I'm all in for. So I like that, John. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the employee satisfaction, because that's also something that really comes along with this, that most of the time an employee wants to be engaged. They want to be doing something, that they don't want to be so swamped that it's out of control and they can't keep up with things, but they also don't want to just be sitting there going, okay, this is a waste of my time. And so finding that right balance for the employees really drives employee engagement as well.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, you know what? That was something I didn't even think of, that this could help. And right now, during the pandemic and during all the changes of basically every business, ensuring that you have satisfied employees while having satisfied customers and reducing costs, if you can bring something like that to the table, that's pretty amazing. So this has been very, very informative, John. I really appreciate you spending time with us today. Walking through your fantastic company, the solution. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to anybody, or anything else you want to address?
No, I appreciate the chance to talk, and we're happy to talk about this with anyone, even if we end up going through the framework and discovering it doesn't fit for your business. We're happy to help you learn about workforce optimization and how and where it might apply.
Fantastic, John. Thank you so much again for joining us. Thank you for supporting A2.AI with your sponsorship as well. We really enjoyed your presentation. And again, for those of you, the questions I didn't get to, John will get back to you. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the A2.AI committee or John, and we can help you understand this solution better and see if it fits for your business. So, John, thank you so much.
Great, thank you.
Take care.